What is a GTM?
Talking to the customer is still so important. Everyone kind of ignores that.
Every 20 Canadians are entrepreneurs.
Unless you can convince somebody to take money out of their pocket and give it to you.
The middle
Agree.
class is getting so shrunk in.
The longer you wait, the less of an advantage you have.
Yeah.
Can you communicate? Do you make good decisions?
What would you recommend people for Claude?
Market strategy is a piece that I think if you have any expertise in go-to-market.
The stats are not on our side. Chris, you're back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always an honor and privilege to be invited back, especially to your podcast. We had such a great conversation last time, so super excited to be here. I think it's almost been, could have been a year from the last.
Probably like 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months. Okay, time
just flies.
I have no sense of time since COVID, right? It's like everything flies, but only 4 or 5 months. Well, thank you for having me back so soon then.
And we just talked for about 25 minutes about AI, and we were geeking out on AI.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I made a post, and this is why I'm so excited for this conversation. I made a post yesterday about me spending so much money on Fable tokens. And your comment, which I do appreciate you commenting all the time, you said, there's never been a better time for entrepreneurs to get ideas out there. Key is the front end research and the GTM strategy.
Yeah.
What is a GTM?
Well, go to market, right? The go to market strategy. Because it's so easy for entrepreneurs these days to have an idea, vibe code it into somewhat existence, and then kind of at that point, like, okay, you got it now. What do you do, right? Now, what I find is that the front part, right, like talking to the customer is still so important. Everyone kind of ignores that part, which is such the important part, where phone calls, talking to people, making sure that you have that product market fit. So that's the kind of like to me, that's the part that people always use to kind of skip, and I think is so important. Then we have, once they have some validation and some, okay, there's a problem here that needs to be solved, we can kind of solve it. We're just talking about how, that middle piece, the development piece is massively changing, right? Like we're seeing it, like you remember Lovable when it first came out. Now we have Claude Code, we have Fable, we're just like, it's like steroids, and we're getting more and more steroids to do things as entrepreneurs, right? Where we don't need, all these other services potentially, as we're talking about, right? I can't remember the last time I used a graphic designer, right? Now, some people might say, oh, well, Chris, your stuff sucks, graphic design, but I disagree. I actually think it's decent enough, right? And it's getting better and better. So the dev part is like being solved. The go-to-market strategy is that piece that I think, if you have any expertise in go-to-market, your value is going to skyrocket. Because you're going to have, and I don't have any stats on this, but I assume because of the ease of creating an MVP, that you're going to have more and more people that need to get customers.
And what's the best way to create an MVP?
Oh, it depends on what
you drop. You drop Base 44, you drop Lovable, you drop Fable. What would you recommend?
Now that's a good question. I'd actually they're all fairly decent. I think Lovable does a great job, like in many ways, because of the fact that it makes it super, super easy to launch it, right? Like our websites, that's why, Base 44 was bought by Wix, right? Because Wix was like, oh crap, they're going to eat our cake here, right? So they bought Base 44.
What is Base 44 and what is Lovable?
So they're vibe coding tools basically that enable you to just kind of like chat with their product and create things, right? From apps to websites to, minimal viable digital products, right? Can also create courses, can create lots of different things. So the limitation is, it's not hardware. So it's only software, right? Or applications. Websites, you can create a website for an idea in like 5 minutes, super easy, and have it out on the web, like within minutes. It's before, when you used to have to hire a designer, connect things. They're making it super, super easy with integrations and connections. Like Lovable can be connected to ChatGPT, can be connected to Claude. It's this ecosystem that enables entrepreneurs, right? Now, the go-to-market piece and the research pieces still super, super important, and you can use AI in both. But generally, those are the differentiators now in my mind versus just the creation, because creation is becoming easier and easier, and I expect it to become easier because with all these AI products, we're actually seeing the worst products, right? Like this is like, what Chat GPT came out November 30th, 2022, right? That's not that long ago,
Right.
right? And now they have 1.1 billion monthly users.
Wow.
Like it's kind of crazy, right? Like I don't think anything has grown that fast, and we're just going to see more and more growth, and it's going to be interesting. I love this stuff. Like my trifecta is entrepreneurship, AI, and teaching. Like
Mm.
and so it's like super exciting times. Like I read every day. There's a new tool coming out. I think there's like close to 1 million AI tools out there now. Like it's kind of like I don't know. It's exciting. That's all I can say. It's super exciting.
Yeah, and are you feeling fatigued a little bit about all the releases like Fable, was it I mean, Fable just came out from Claude. I think a month ago, Opus came out. Like
Opus
they're
5.
Opus 5. They're
Yeah.
coming out with new models, it seems like monthly, and then it's gonna eventually be weekly versus every 6 months.
Um, not yet, because I love this stuff, right? Like it's like a kid with a comic book, right? Like every month you get a new comic book. Like to me, every time there's a new release, it's a new toy to kind of play with. And so for me, I love it. I think for others, I definitely see fatigue. I also see bubbles, right? Like we were talking about this earlier, how you and I are so excited. We're all in. We look at this stuff, we get excited. But our bubble, that's our bubble, right? Like, and so, as a human, you get to choose what bubble you want to participate in. Most people, I say that the average person has probably a base knowledge of AI. And then there's always going to be the immediate and advanced users of any type of tool or any type of thing that you're interested in.
Now, when we go talk to
Yeah,
that entrepreneur that's starting out, that's
yeah,
busy,
yeah.
what would you recommend him or her do right now? They're seeing all this news, they're releasing all these tools. You just talked about 6 different tools
Yeah.
that do 6 different things in a different way. What do you recommend them? How would they start if they're
So,
starting now?
so I'm going to take a step back where it's like, you know, pick the tool to solve the problem, right? Like if you have a ditch, you're not going to bring a saw, right? So if you're going to dig a ditch, you probably want a shovel. So make sure that you're picking the tool that is serving the purpose, right? So if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm having an idea, I'd probably start doing research, and I'd probably start using large language models as a base point to potentially do some research. I think all like Chat GPT has deep research. They all have a deep. Gemini has a deep research function as well as Claude. I would start to kind of like pick the world's brain, because really that's what you're doing, right? And trying to see if your idea have some, get some supporting evidence behind that idea. Well, that's one piece, but sorry.
And when we go talk about the LLMs,
Yeah,
there's 3 major ones:
there's lots, but
ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic.
yeah.
Distinguish those 3. What would you use Gemini for?
Well, it's Gemini. Most people use Gemini because it's tied into Google Workspace, right? And Google has done such a good job of the integration piece between of that for business owners, right? So, the functionality, the knowledge base in terms of chatting is all pretty much they all are pretty much similar across the board, right? So because they're all trained on what's out there in the world in a sense, and what they could train their models on. So the knowledge piece is pretty much the same. And I think the last time I saw a report, it was all kind of converging to the knowledge all being very similar. At the start, there were some of these large language models had advantages because of what they were trained on, but that's narrowed to the point. Now, what we're seeing now is competing on ecosystems and features. So Gemini, which I'm a fan of because of Google Workspace, I use it. They've done a really great job embedding it into their tool, like embedding it into the workspace, right? And the tools within the workspace, right? So they have within Google and Gemini, they have, yeah, I use Gemini almost every time I open up Gmail, right? Like they have Google Flow, which basically allows you to automate really kind of like anything within Google Workspace really well. They have Google AI Studio, all part of their product suite. So in terms of the large language model, it's, the power, they're probably third or second in regards to what Gemini is in terms of, I think it's Gemini 3.0. I couldn't mess up because there's so many, right? Um, so I think, and then that's cool, but where, and then you have enterprise, which is where Claude is playing.
Well, so if we
So
go back, if you're a business owner
yeah.
and you're on Gmail, G Suites, how do you tap into Gemini? Is it an extra model there? How do you tap into it to really take your business to the next level
Well,
using it?
they have different tiers, right? So most of all the large language models have different tiers, and so you can I think it's the Pro model for Gemini, where basically I believe it's like $29 per user per month, and that gives you most of the AI functionality that you probably need as a business owner, like. Our large organizations, of course, you're going to go and pay for the bigger enterprise packages. But generally, that if you're paying anywhere from $30 to $50 for usage, that's a deal. Like
Mm.
that's some people say, well, that's pretty pricey, but nah, like for what you can actually do with those tools, I think it's a good deal. A very
So if you're an entrepreneur or business owner right now, and
Yeah.
you definitely recommend Gemini if you're in the G Suite.
Well, it just makes it easier, right? Like so Scarlet Nova, which is like my consulting AI consultancy. We're agnostic to the tool, right? So what we try to do is work within the existing infrastructures of businesses. So because it doesn't always like make sense to rip something apart and pull it over, right? So if they're using Microsoft, we'll work within Copilot,
Right.
right? Because that's embedded. With Gemini, with Google Workspace, or we use basically Gemini, right? Now, on top of that, like there's other companies would be okay. Well, we still have Microsoft, but we're going to use Claude
Right.
because there's some things like we do a lot of coding, we do a lot of like really in-depth research, which the Fable 5 would be really, really, really handy for.
Yeah. What would you recommend people for Claude?
I think Claude is making, it's funny because the most recent stat is like in Canada, Claude isn't as well known. Like, first off, OpenAI, 1.1 billion users. Claude, I think, has like 225 million users.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And then Gemini is actually in the middle with, I think, 900 million users. Like, so like closer to ChatGPT
Mhm.
than actual Claude is. But Claude is gaining traction with enterprise, right? Because of the features. They have tons of features, like their co-work feature that allows for workflow automation.
What's enterprise mean?
So when you're saying enterprise, I meant large companies, so like 100 plus employees or more. They have their own IT department. They're like when you think about Canada, 95% are SMEs. It's that 5% that are like the big companies that I think, and especially in the United States, are adopting enterprise. Um, they're putting at least putting a challenge towards chat GPT's, I would say, kind of dominance at this point.
Mm.
um, and it's also a gauge. I think that people that are using Claude seem to be like the ones that are following AI a little bit more, right? Like
Mm.
they're really into it.
Mm.
And they're like, oh, what do you use? Like the people that use Claude kind of have that cool factor going for them now, if you ask me, compared to like somebody using chat GPT.
It's funny because the first 2 years I was exclusive on ChatGPT, and then once I moved to Claude, I was like
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not moving away from Claude. It's crazy how amazing it is.
They have done some really good things in regards to the how it interacts with you, right?
Yeah.
Like I always think that the winner is going to be the one that makes it the easiest for everybody, right? And if you can do things super easy with the large language model like Claude, Chat GPT, that's going to be the differentiator down the road, amongst many features, right? Um, it seems that Claude is coming out with a feature almost every week, right? Or a new model. So it's like it's awesome. Like and from a user's perspective, they're just making it better and better, right? So it's not like they're you have this great product and you're like, oh, this is awesome, and then next week it's like it's even awesomer.
Yeah.
right?
So Claude for enterprise and then ChatGPT for what?
Uh, they have the mind share. Like, when you think about it, like 1.1 billion users,
That's
right?
crazy.
Last time I also saw a stat where most of them people are not using it for business purposes. And they're using it for personal usage, right? So maybe that could be a problem down the road for OpenAI, but just the fact that they have so many users, they have dominant mind share. When you think about large language models, usually the first one that comes up is Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Like, even some people, in terms of, like, I know I'm also a college professor, right? And when I talk about AI, it's almost like, oh, you mean Chat GPT? I'm like, no, there's many other versions of AI and models out there, but a lot, like, they own the mindset right now, right? Like the mind share of what AI is, it always kind of goes to, maybe they just do a better job with media, but they also have a good product, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Claude is, in my mind, so much better. Um, you know, it's funny because it's kind of like, if I look at features, it's kind of a race between the two. They're kind of coming out with new features where you have, like, Google Workspace over there, collecting and doing their own thing. Um, you have Microsoft doing their thing. You have Apple doing something, not well, if you ask me, but um, it's interesting. Like, but I love the competition. I think competition is good,
Yeah.
and the reason why we're constantly seeing them kind of outdoing each
Yeah.
other is only good for the consumer.
Yeah. I totally agree with competition. So now
What do you think? I'm doing too much talking. Like, what do you think?
I think it is overwhelming. If I was starting out now, I mean, I've been doing it now. I've been looking at it for the last 4 years. So I
Mhm.
progressively got to the point where I can go onto Claude and build a website and connect it to a NetLivy and push a website out. If I was starting out now, I would feel so overwhelmed
Mhm.
with the Lovables, the Base 44s, the
Yeah.
Chat GPTs, the Claude. I mean, I definitely recommend picking one.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, if you're in G Suites, Gemini,
Yeah.
if you're doing it personally, Chat GPT, if you want to build a prototype, Fable 5, Claude, like that's how I would distinguish it.
Mhm.
And I would just pick one, understand it, get less overwhelmed, focus on it.
Yeah.
And then once you start getting more experience, then playing around with it. Because I started with this subscription here, this subscription. I'm like
Yeah.
starting to cancel subscriptions
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I'm on 11 Labs. I'm on like all these different
Yeah.
platforms that are just billing me on a month-to-month basis
Yep.
because of the shiny object syndrome too, of like, oh my God, this came out. I want to try this. I want to try this. I want to try this.
Yeah.
And I noticed myself get into the ethers a lot versus focusing on, getting a result, getting an outcome,
Mhm.
getting this.
Yep.
But you also have to do that to get to the point where you understand the tools. Lovable's different
Yeah.
than, Claude, and how they both interact. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool,
Yeah.
the architecture around it. But and it's funny because when we talk about the MVP, we're talking about new businesses starting with new ideas.
Mm.
And that's where college graduates or entrants to the market play a huge factor in potentially being an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, or whatever,
Mhm.
and creating their livelihood that way versus the existing businesses that have a business, that have the idea already, that have the distribution, but then could use the Gemini in the workspace
Mhm.
to enhance the productivity of the whole staff,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So two different use cases for two different entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, I think people, and I've always said this, and I've been saying it for a while. I think the startups, they have an advantage if they start thinking, okay, we're AI native, we're just going to build it with AI in mind. Advantage, right? Because the business models can be different, the creativity, they can create something that is competitive. SMEs, which are basically, the ones that are in business now, doing okay, millions in revenue, whatever, legacy systems, SaaS products, right? Like, they've built their business taking what tools they needed. they're going to have probably in my mind the most challenge. And that's why we created, like when I created my company, that was like, we wanted to help them because they're going to have their, first off, lack of resources, lack of knowledge. Where do we start? Like, and we're still seeing that now, right? In regards to the conversations we have with businesses, is that they're like, to your point, and I 100% agree, is that, if you're a business, pick one, right? Like when about a year ago, we'd come across businesses that were kind of like playing around and being like, okay, buying everything to see if it would, throw it at the wall to see if it hits and does something, right? But what we do, and one of the big things that I think that we do really well, is that we go into organizations and say, okay, these are the problems. Okay, this is the tool you should use. It makes more sense for this tool. It's tied in to your current systems, or maybe it's a problem where Fable 5 is the best solution, and we're like, okay, let's use Claude, right? Like, so I think it's really interesting because back to your entrepreneurship thing, is like it's going to make, it should fundamentally change business, right? Like it is in my
It
mind.
is. It's
And so you got to jump on board,
yeah.
right? Because the longer you wait, the less of an advantage you have,
Yeah.
right? Like you're great because when we chat, and I, even before, and you've been dabbling in AI for since GPT came up, and I'm like, those are the people that are taking the most advantage of it now,
Yeah.
and I get it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just chatting, right?
Yeah.
It's workflows, it's productivity, right? And then, now the big thing is, one of the things I did an article recently about it was about how it saves time, right?
Huge amount.
But what do you do with that time?
I know.
Right?
And I'm noticing that too. It's
So
like I'm spending 4 hours a day and I'm caught up with everything because I'm using Manus, which is an AI,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Agents, yeah.
agents to do
Good product.
my SEO and all
Yeah,
that. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what do I do? I'm caught up
Yeah.
before,
It,
it would take me 10, 12 hours to do stuff. And now it takes me half the time.
it's kind of
It's
like
crazy.
the time thing is great, and it's, we used to, when I first started the company, it's be like, oh yeah, we can save time, right? But, and that's just like one measure, right? But what are you going to do with that time is the better measure. Like, what are the outcomes and what more can you do, right? I used to have I had a conversation a couple years ago with a marketer, and he was all like, and we had, at the time, we had different views, and he said, you know, the person that writes the blog is still going to have to write the blog, right? Like generally, you'll get AI, so they'll be responsible for that blog, but now they're going to be responsible for doing 10 to 20 a day
Yeah.
versus, right? So if you are using AI and you get these efficiencies, you kind of then have to manage and figure out, okay, well, Sue over here, or Dave over here, now only needs to work 5 hours. So how can we use Dave better? How can we use Sue better? Right. And I think the companies that figure that out, big advantage,
Yeah.
right? Because now you have the same resources, but you're doing more.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, well, I think there's a fundamental business shift that needs to be taken there to have that mindset, because it's just, AI across the board is a tool, right? Like, so giving somebody a shovel.
Yeah.
Like, some people are going to use that shovel really, really well,
Yeah.
and other people are not. So, like, I also relate it to, when we first got Microsoft Excel, right? Like, I remember getting Excel for the first time, opening it up, I'm going like, okay, this is like some like I had no training. I was just like equal plus like basic stuff, right? And I would say that my Excel skill got to the intermediate level, but it took a long time, took training and whatever. I see us mostly, everyone is like at that point with Excel where it's like we just got it, right? There are some people that have, the super users, and there's quite a few in my network that, as soon as like they've been on it, like they're constantly on Excel, like not Excel, on Claude, or are they on Chat GPT? They're constantly using it on a daily basis. I'm one of those people too. So the learning curve, of course, you increase upon that. So I think down the road, I think training from like most people is going to be essential. I think there's also a mindset training here, like a mindset piece, because it's not just the tool. Within an organization, you kind of have to really kind of help people with the change, right? Because it is changing the way we work. And so you actually have to be very aware of that. Also, the fears around it. There's still tons of people that I encounter on a regular basis that like, I don't want to use AI. It, like, they're just against it. I have a 19-year-old that is like hardcore against it. And I'm like, and I have students that are like, nah, I don't want to use AI for any assignment, even though it's part like the assignment is, hey, use the AI for this, right? Use AI. So it's really interesting. But I think with any type of technology, you're always going to see a little bit of a backlash.
Mm,
But the genie's out of the bottle. Like it's not like
mhm.
we're going to be like, okay, everyone stop using AI. It's not going to happen. And
But Fable came out and the government restricted it for a
that's a
couple of
problem. like, it's interesting. I don't like so government getting involved, obviously they got involved for a reason, right?
mm,
But when governments control the large language models or can pull it, that's concerning to me,
very concerning.
right? Um, so and you think about it, eh, all the large language models really that we talked about are US based.
Yeah.
So, hey, if all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, for you to use these large language models, we're going to turn it off.
Yeah.
Like I've always been, and maybe I'm getting a little bit into my dystopian science fiction mindset
And
here,
maybe
but
let's back
yeah.
up what happened for Fable 5. Oh no, it was Opus. The-
Uh, no, it was Fable 5
Oh,
that was like basically pulled off the shelf because the concerns was that it was too powerful and basically would be able to do cybersecurity stuff. I'm not a cybersecurity specialist.
and
Um,
didn't they give the models to like the major bank before it was released to the consumers
uh,
and there was already hacks going on. Like there's a
yeah,
real security concern with AI and
yeah.
um the power people now have at their fingertips.
Yeah, so they put guardrails in, right? Like, so now if you try to do certain things, it'll push you back to a weaker model, right? And so that's how they kind of got around it with the US government.
Mm,
So if I was like, because, if I wanted to be a bad actor, right? Yeah, because any type of tool, you give somebody a shovel, some people are going to dig a ditch,
mm,
somebody might hit me in the head with it,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that is what the government was fearful of and so fearful that they actually pulled it from usage from most like almost for everybody for I think it was 30 days when
Mm.
they pulled it, put in some guardrails and then they re-released it, right? I think we probably, well, depending upon these companies and how well they work with the US government, we're going to see more and more of that. But for me, I think the danger is with the large language models, government kind of controlling them, right? Controlling enterprise. Do we want the governments to be the watchdog? I don't know. Like, if you asked me, I don't know. That's a tough question because sometimes I think, yeah, the government should be the watchdog to protect people, right?
Mm.
But will they? Like, I'm more skeptical today about that
For
um,
sure.
than I was maybe 10 years ago,
Right.
right? So
What's the interest? What's the underlying interest that is being pulled for what reason type of thing?
yeah, like I actually think they're all saying that they're all trying to get to AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, right? And if anyone actually does do that, they win. The game's over in my mind. Like anyway, like
What do you mean?
it's like in the movies, right? Like if you have the supercomputer that is like that can do almost everything, uh, you can so your AI can now infiltrate governments, right? Like cybersecurity is no longer an issue, right? Like you win. Like you have the strongest, most powerful technology in the world.
Didn't they say it's like a couple years away?
Uh, you know, there's tons of people that say it's a couple years away. Some people say it's never going to happen. What you have right now is just a really beautiful mathematical model that picks the next best word, right? And is built upon things that we know, right? So I don't know. Like I'm not a mathematician and I'm not an AI scientist. Um, I think what we have now is an awesome tool. Will it get to artificial general intelligence? Like that's part of the reason I'm so fascinated with AI is that if you do, then things like R2D2 and C3PO become more and more realistic.
What is that?
Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm a Star Wars nerd. Right?
Okay.
So you have like R2D2 and C3PO. You have like this, like these, like robots that you see in the movies that have personality and that have some sentient like consciousness, right? Or just like, or like the Matrix, right? Like where numerous movies that have and Star Trek and all these movies that have kind of have a version of AI in it, right? So do like I don't like I think hardware, batteries, I think there's other issues around that, but the the knowledge piece is it's fascinating because, and I'll take a step back here because when I drive into this podcast, I chatted with an AI the whole time down, right? Like I basically tossing ideas. What do you think about this? Like, tell me about this, right? Like, what's happening, right? Like, I basically had a whole conversation, right? I know it's AI, but it certainly acted like a human with a human that had a lot of knowledge. And and compared to like a year ago, the latency, so basically how fast it responds, is so much better. And even to the point where it's like now it actually does. It actually does like like pauses as if it's thinking,
Mm,
right? Like and sounding more and more human.
yeah.
So it's pretty awesome.
Did you think AI would get this fast, this strong, this in the last 3 years?
Hmm.
Like if you reflect back when ChatGPT came out to now.
Uh like that's a tough one because like I did my focus on AI for my master's in 2017. And at that point, and I laugh at it because, one of my projects was basically taking like downloading a bunch of articles and like I think it was a couple hundred and then putting into this tool and getting like the connections like a word cloud, right? Like and that was like wow, that was 2016. So did I fathom it? No, I to be honest, no. Like I think it from and the functionality like is getting better. I think on the knowledge piece, I think that was something I could wrap my head around because what they're basically doing is like scraping everything,
Mm,
putting into a database and saying this is the brain, right?
mm.
I could get that. Where I see the human creativity piece now, and maybe it's not humans, but maybe is that feature, like the features, right? Like, you know, y- like Claude, because it has like co-work, it has Claude design, has Claude code, right? Like, and then you have your models like Haiku, Sonnet, I always forget the C one, the one we already talked about, Fable 5, and then, but like, so all the features that are coming out in the different models, nah, I don't think, I think they probably had a plan, like these companies. And I'd love to know where they're heading. Um,
Where
I
do
guess
you think they're heading?
it's agents, right? Like I think it's going to goal-based usage versus conversational like chats, right?
Mm.
Where, sometimes you go in and you say, oh, tell me about this, right? Like, so you're chatting with it using a prompt. I think what's going to, and we're seeing it starting already, is that the agentifying or agentic is the right word for it, is where you're going to have agents that just basically you'll have an agent that manages the agents that does stuff for you.
What is an agent?
It is it's really a program. It's an agent is That's a good question. So what is an agent? So an agent is just a computer coding that allows for
A workflow to
a
happen.
workflow to happen. Like thanks, yeah, like in multiple workflows to happen, right? Like so what we're seeing now on a basic workflow, it's pretty easy to kind of, but what you're going to see down the road is what I call it. I call them swarms. But basically, you're going to have like agents managing agents in a feedback loop where basically it's constantly learning, right?
Mm.
Um, and I think when you have that across the board massively,
Yeah.
um, that's when it gets like super crazy interesting because then I walk into my office and I say, you know, uh,
And it's working 24 hours a
that's right.
day, 7 days a week.
Until well, they would have to still bring down the cost,
Yeah.
right? Like it'd be nice, and we are seeing like like Fable 5 being super expensive, and therefore not everyone's going to be using that all the time. And you're going to see, like we're talking about, a company that moved to an open source model to reduce costs because they are using it so often, so that the cost was getting so intrusive. I think one of the things we're going to see is that cost coming down, right? Like,
You think it's going to go down or it's going to go up? Because I heard they're subsidizing everything right now.
I think new technologies will come out that will help it decrease, like compression, data compression. I think that there's going to be other things that are going to help reduce the cost. Um, but um, I could be wrong. Like, like I'm more or less a user than anything else, and I have no, like, I don't work for OpenAI, I don't work
Right.
for Claude, right? So, and I don't, data centers, like, like the fundament, like the need for data centers and all that. You know, I look at it as, you know, if you're just a user, and you're paying $50 to $30 for a large language model, um, I think that is a brilliant deal for anybody, especially if they use it properly, right? Like, I don't think that the price, it'll be, can they bring up the price? Would they have to? I think they'll have a hard time to do that. But you know,
So we talked about a few things in regards to AI with LLMs, development becoming 10, now 20x faster.
mhm,
Go to market and research is one thing that you still have to do,
yep,
right? You have to have those conversations with clients. You have to understand who you're marketing to, and then in turn, distribution.
mhm,
And I do think that that's where your time should be spent now. And we look at,
agree.
we're talking about Apple. Okay, Apple doesn't have the AI right now. No one knows what's happening with the AI with Apple,
Mhm,
but they have distribution.
mhm,
These small business owners and these people that are running companies have the distribution, but not have the AI.
mhm.
They're a scaled down version of Apple.
Yeah, yeah,
That's their
yeah,
advantage, right?
yeah,
At the end of the day, a startup, and I'm going through right now
mhm,
with, Taxify, I'm spending all my time on distribution.
yep,
Like, forget about anything else. It's like, okay, how do I get in front of clients? How do I trust clients? I'm doing all these steps, and that's all I'm thinking about versus building the prototype, giving it to my developer, and let the developer just do its thing. That's 20% of my time.
yep,
80% goes to distribution.
mhm.
If you're an entrepreneur right now, do you talk to your students about distribution and getting out there, conversation, like the way you communicate and how you're excited about teaching and all
Mhm,
that,
mhm,
that actually plays a huge factor in building distribution because you're on camera, you're distributing, and you're doing all these steps to get more clients,
mhm.
more in your ecosystem.
So, I guess the question is how do you get customers? Really, is it like, so I think it's interesting because
Because the worst, and just to add to that, I do think the worst thing to happen is all these entrepreneurs go and build all these prototypes and do all these things, and it's so cool. But then they're like, okay, well, where are my customers? Where am I getting my customers? Or I'm going to just throw this idea out
yeah,
versus actually hiring people, stimulating the economy, paying taxes, being more competitive with everyone else. Like, there's a lot of entrepreneurship that could happen in
yeah.
Canada, and people could stop at the bubble in their computer versus going out and actually getting clients.
Yeah, the problem that you talk about where, build it and they will come, I don't know if that's ever going to really change. Like, I've been teaching entrepreneurship in the business management entrepreneurship program at Algonquin College for years. And it's I think it's a human nature type of thing where you think, okay, I have this problem. It seems like a good problem to solve. I'm going to build to solve the problem, right? Because I feel it, right? And I think to some points that works. Like, some businesses are successful because it's like a problem that other people have, right? Um, I think that no matter what, you're going to have a graveyard of business ideas, right? especially now, you might just have a bigger graveyard of these ideas. But to the point is that, and I always say this, is that the first piece, talking to customers, right? Like, and this is the piece that everyone seems to avoid, right? And this is the most important piece.
Yeah.
Now, on the go-to-market strategy, I remember I had a professor, and this was years ago, but he always said, like, unless you can convince somebody to take money out of their pocket and give it to you, you have a hobby, not a business, right? And it's actually Tony Belletti, who, I consider many people in the community thought of him as their mentor. He was probably one of the more influential people in Ottawa in regards to entrepreneurship, right? Like, who sadly passed away this year. But needless to say, Tony, that was his advice, and it stuck with me. The piece that I always think, and so research is hard, talking to customers, and then that go-to-market piece is really getting to the customer, right? I'm always been a big fan, and it seems to work well for me, is like a three-prong approach, right? You do three activities, uh, and then you kind of make sure that you do them consistently, making sure that you spend equal, like not equal amount, but when you see something taking off, then you start spending more money on that piece, keeping the other two actively.
Oh, three-prong, like
Yeah.
organic social media, paid social
Yeah.
media.
Or it could be like for, let's say, a small service business, one could be like networking, one could be LinkedIn, the third one could be cold calls.
Okay.
Right. Or for a larger company, it could be like ad spend on something, but having at least three things that are consistently going. Because I believe that if you're consistent, you're going to see hopefully some traction in one of those three. And once you start seeing and say, okay, well, this one brings in 80% of my customers. Well, okay, well, I'm going to spend more money on that because it works. You still keep these other two running, because at some point, if this one dries up, you can say, okay, this one's hitting now and this one's hitting. So I actually think that, like, no matter what, you should be doing three, and this is basic marketing in my mind, is three activities no matter what. And you never stop those activities, because once you stop one, it's you're restarting it takes some time, and then of course your pipeline will dry up. If so, you have to kind of be consistent, and even better, not just consistency, but paying attention to the outcomes and tweaking as necessary based upon the feedback that you're receiving. Right. So,
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. Right now, you can build something in an hour, 2 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours. But distribution, and there's an episode coming on my podcast this week about building a personal brand. And this individual has a 5-year approach
wow.
on building an audience. So like, we're not talking 5 days or 5 weeks. He's in it for 5 years to build a personal brand. And I think that's how we also have to think as entrepreneurs, is like, okay, though that three-prong approach, that consistency, don't expect it to happen in the next month or 2 months. Like, even this podcast, I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years.
Yeah.
It is picking up after a year of putting time, energy, resources, everything into it, with already the knowledge base of the MBA and, an exit.
Yeah.
And it's still taking time. So I think the message is, don't get discouraged by it. Build product, get it out there, and then go talk to people, go see it. And then what I'm doing, especially with Taxify, and it's a perfect example. It's like, for example, yourself too. I'm giving you the idea. I'm sharing with you the product. Then I shut up and I let you tell me, as a user, as a small business user, what do you think? Like, would you tweak anything? What resonates with you, so that I can then put it back, and then takes 2 seconds to develop it, tweak it for you, so that you're happy.
Your customers are your partners, right? I think it was Terry Matthews who built the business model of, well, get a partner, build it for the partner, and the partner buys it from you, right? That's not rocket science, right? Like, it's actually, it is the core fundamental of business, is meeting the needs of the people that want it, right? So it's awesome. Like, I think and that's why the go-to-market piece, and also the feedback loop is so important, that I think a lot of entrepreneurs if I was to say, hey, you're starting a business, these are really like the research part, getting like customers signed up, maybe pre-build, like getting some interest there, and then that go-to-market strategy. And as I said, anyone with go-to-market, like the people that can really sell and kind of go to market really, really well, their value in my mind is just going to skyrocket
Yeah.
because like I think I saw an interview with a guy, I think it was one of the Dragon's Den guys who was saying that, the go-to-market people now are charging more and more and more because
Mhm.
yeah, because it's so what they're doing is becoming much more important because of the current business environment.
And it's hard.
It
Like
is.
it
Everything's
like
hard though.
yeah,
And it's good though. Hard
right.
hard things are good things.
Because I'm looking at social media from 5 years ago or 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and the amount of content that's out there. How do you, you know, differentiate yourself, the tags, the content, there's a lot that goes in with it.
Yeah.
So you also have to embrace, spend time on AI, but also spend time on how do you get your distribution out? From your experience in AI, are you seeing any sales agents, AI, like front end individuals, cold calling? Is that a thing yet?
It's interesting considering I am I'm all into AI. I have two businesses that are pretty much fundamental AI native type businesses. I'm still a big component of the human
Me
relationship,
too. Me
right?
too.
And
Totally agree.
I have yet to. I don't know if it's you can if you wanted to you can create a AI voice version of yourself and you can like
Yeah.
blast it out there to everybody, but I think humans will still recognize, well, I'm talking to an AI,
Yeah.
right? Like and I think depending upon the audience that might work for some. I still think the slow build of businesses sometimes is the best approach where you you build relationships, you build trust.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever going to go away. I,
Yeah.
I think the tool makes it easier. Um, you know, I don't know on the cold calling side if they're going to, and they might eventually get to AI agent that does cold calls so well that you can't tell the difference between a human or that it's human or not. I think if they can do that, that's going to be a very successful business, just for the fact that no one likes to do cold calls.
Mhm.
Um, and then what you can do is you can mass do it. Well, I think the other issue with that is that once it can do it, we're going to see other AI or other AI tools that counter it, right? I don't answer my phone ever.
Ever.
Like I have a Google Pixel, so I just hit that button that
Mhm.
basically Google hops on and says, "Hey,
Mhm.
he's busy at the moment. Can
Mhm.
you let me know why you're here?" Right?
Mhm.
And then I look and I'm like, "Okay, I don't want to talk to this person."
Mhm.
Right? So, down the road, I think the issue with the go-to-market piece is that you're going to have agents talking to agents, right?
Mhm.
So, I don't know how far off that's going to be. So, I think that's going to be a challenge. Um, I think it's back to I think that go-to-market piece, and the question I think is like the automation or using AI. Yeah, there are just some things I think humans will not appreciate, and I think there's some things that you're going to be able to do it. Like we use AI, for example, to do research before I have any meetings. So I get a nice report, basically tells me all about the person I'm about to meet, any past conversations, does research, even gives me like talking points to say they might be interested in this or this and this because of these signals, right? Like, so that's a good use because it allows me to come in more informed and maybe a little bit better prepared,
Yeah.
right? But would I send in like would I just I don't think I've at the point now, maybe it's down the road, but will AI ever sell me something? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't think it will because I think there's people still like dealing with people like the ATM situation, the ATMs where they thought ATMs were going to wipe out bank tellers, right? Didn't. Like if we still have ATMs, so it makes it easier, but people still like the teller. Like, will that die out? I don't know.
Is it a demographic thing though?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't
Because
know.
yeah, going back to the receptionist
Yeah.
or the AI agent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I agree with you until I went to the States
Okay.
and I heard an AI agent. We went to Applebee's,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is a fame. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
it's a restaurant in the States, and we're ordering takeout, and I call, and an agent comes on, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Just give me a human. But then my flip side was like, okay, I want to see how far ahead this company is with agents.
Yep.
So I went through it.
Yep.
I could honestly say it was a better experience than the human.
So
And I'm looking at this and I'm like, it's going through the menu, it's giving me suggestions, it's pretending to type, it's not lagging, it's hearing what I'm saying, it's not repeating. And it was a great experience. And I'm looking at
yeah,
that and I'm listening, and I'm like, holy shit,
yeah,
it's here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would rather use it.
So with fast food, like I get that, like I just don't see it being like where there's a much larger need for trust or maybe empathy, maybe. So not to say, like, I think there's a ton of use cases where, like that, like an AI receptionist is useful. For example, if you have a customer complaint and you have 24/7 service where I can call up and say my toilet is plugged, I need help, right? Like, and that would be like a very quick thing where the AI says, thank you, can you give me your information, we'll send out somebody, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. And I don't think that there's like it's a short interaction.
Right.
um but if I'm just trying to think, like, if I'm looking to, maybe, buy something of high value, or make a major life decision, I don't know if we're there yet.
No, for
Right.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
so on the simple
For
things,
sure.
for sure. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, if I was a business person, I'd be thinking about where those simple things are, because building something to solve that problem, right, would be awesome. Like as I mentioned, Booked Works, or Gustavo Sanchez, who basically, ex Shopify, ex Dropbox, is building really an AI receptionist for the trades, right? Super, like, really good idea, because the premise is like, if I'm on a roof, I can't answer my phone. And very much like Taxify, right, where you're helping the small medium enterprises do things. Removing friction is really what you get, what people are doing with AI. Like, what you do with Taxify, you're making, a very painful, bookkeeping and submitting taxes super, super easy.
Mm.
And that's where, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship and AI use cases, like, you and Gustavo are like brilliant examples of really where I think the opportunity lies when it comes to entrepreneurship, is finding also those places where the Google and Microsoft don't want to play,
Mm.
like the kind
Yeah.
of like the niche approach, where
Yeah. They don't want to do
that's
taxes.
right,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think that's smart on your part, like, in regards to that.
It's funny because when I was thinking about this, the idea and the execution of it, I actually was thinking about it that way too.
Mm,
Not only a competition from, all the off the shelf platforms that are out there and firms that are out there, it's, will I get replaced? I asked so many prompts
yeah.
to Claude, and will this disrupt me if you add a feature that removes me and all that? And the bookkeeping, for sure, it's
Mm,
going to get automated.
mm,
It's already there. You can upload your statements and it produces results. But we just talked about it. Okay, you get the results. What do you do with it?
mhm.
Who's filing your taxes? Who's submitting your sales tax? Who's doing your payroll? Who's doing the compliance thing around it? If you have to take that and bring it to an account that you're doing the back and forth, you lost all the efficiencies.
Yep.
So it's not just thinking about the bookkeeping, it's thinking about what problem are you solving? I'm solving the tax problem,
Right.
and the bookkeeping is part of the engine to solve that problem.
And in terms of what you're also solving, is that you're actually doing it at a reduced cost,
Correct.
right? Right. Like, so,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a, not that this is a plug for you,
No.
but it's a no brainer, right? Like, you're solving a problem that a lot of business owners have at a lower cost, right? And I think there's tons of opportunities out there like that right now for entrepreneurs to kind of like start looking at problems and saying, hey, let's do some research and and be able to build that solution like relatively easy right now. Now, the other part is that there's, we always talk about how there's going to be more and more people doing creating things. Like I look forward to seeing studies on that because I think some to a certain extent, people that create things, um, it's a mindset that some people I don't think it's born into, but I think some people experience and then they become that, right? Like so, for example, if you're working for the government, and you get laid off, and you're like, "What am I going to do?"
Right.
You get kind of forced into maybe entrepreneurship, right? Like I also find that uh, children that have parents that are entrepreneurs, right? Like there's a they get they see what entrepreneurship's like, they look at it, and they become in some cases they gravitate toward or they take over their family business, right? Um, I think genuinely humans are risk averse,
For sure.
and I think that's what will, even though we have these wonderful tools and allows for more people, I don't know yet if we're going to see that, right? Like we're going to like it. I think that's why
Is
the
it
graveyard's going to be bigger.
is it our environment though? One out of every 10 US, one out of every 10 Americans are entrepreneurs. One out of every 20 Canadians are entrepreneurs. Like the stats are
Mhm.
not on our side for Canadians.
It's sad, and that's something that we need to change. Because if we want sovereignty and to be more independent, it's based upon our entrepreneurial mindset and our entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah, because when you talk about sovereignty, okay, my whole platform is on Claude
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
ChatGPT or
Don't get me
Gemini.
going on AI sovereignty in Canada because
Yeah.
I think it's nice to say. I think diversification is the key. I think we're never going to be completely sovereign,
No.
and I don't think that's what they meant by AI. But I think that they just want to have less reliance upon other countries, which makes sense, right? But I think there's one AI, a large language model, and I think it's can you even name it? That's
I actually know what it is.
like so most people can't even name it,
Yeah.
right? Because most people don't even, it's Cohere, I think it's
Mhm.
called. Like I've never used it.
Mhm.
Most people I know haven't used it. So not to like and they're the 20th, like they're like in terms of model capabilities, they're down on the list, right? They don't make top 10. So I think there's issues, right? Where we'd have to hopefully get one of these large language models in the top 10, start building data centers, which
We have the environment for
that's right, like
yeah.
nice and cold, right?
Mhm.
Like
Water.
and water and
Yeah.
natural resources. So I think that we have the capacity, but with government, sometimes the planning doesn't come down to the rightful execution, right? I'm hopeful,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like I think politics is not a place like business will. I hope like once again, if anything, I'd want the government to really start really promoting entrepreneurship, helping people create things, and that's where I see the engine being right
100% versus
versus
consuming.
yeah, like
Yeah.
like we have to create, right? Like that's how like we have very like education systems are decent in Canada. We have a lot of smart people here. Um, but even most startups go to the States, right? So we know that's a problem. It's
Mm.
been happening for many, many years. Like, I remember being in Sudbury during my time in university. I went in Sudbury, Ontario, and I remember hearing about brain drain then,
Mm.
right? And that's 30 years ago, 30 plus, 40, yeah, 30 plus years ago, right? So the problem, it hasn't changed. Like we just need to, the government as well as businesses need to start really supporting people and allowing people to take more risks, right?
Yeah, you are definitely the more risks you take, I feel like the more hands are in your pocket at the end of the day,
Yeah.
where your taxes are higher. I mean, there's even if it's not true, it feels true. Like
Yeah.
if you compare it to other countries, I mean, we are still one of the lowest for small businesses, a corporate tax rate, but it doesn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it doesn't feel like entrepreneurships are promoted at all
Yeah.
in any which way.
Well, it's interesting too because I think with the companies like like a startup to raise $1 million in Canada is a big deal,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Over there, they get $10 million off
yeah,
it was funny. I was talking to a venture company and they gave a guy $400,000 for this idea. And I'm looking at this idea. I'm like, as if he just got $400,000 for this.
yeah,
Like I could build it in like 30 minutes, but they're seeing the opportunity. They're seeing the growth.
yeah,
And he was a new founder, knew everything.
yeah.
And they're just willing to write the check and take the chance and try to hit that home run.
That's right.
And even the whole company was like, yeah, we want 2 home runs out of 10. Like those 2 home runs will play for the 10 for the other 8 plus
Yeah.
some. So the risk tolerance is completely different. So let's talk about you launched Venture Studios.
Yeah, Rogue Ventures. It's been a year now. So we launched it at the start of this year. Yeah. Right.
How's it going? What is it?
So Rogue Ventures is a venture studio that helps basically looks for market opportunities and builds AI native disruptors. So like we look for things where we can, you know, like old kind of like legacy type industries where
Would Taxify fit a perfect scenario?
yeah, I think Taxify is a good use case for that. Like the and what we do is we basically we do a lot of research. We talk to customers, and then we have one idea. Well, that is percolating. We've said no to many ideas. We're now, the goal is to launch three businesses within the first year. I'll be happy with 2 that have traction, right?
Are you investing in them financially and development wise, or how does it work?
Well, we basically do we bootstrap it until we get some traction. Now, if we're in the States, it would be different, but since we're in Canada, we're bootstrapping until we actually have revenue and in customers, right? But as we were talking, the research side, we have process there. We have 3 stages, which is like the pre-research and the research stage, where we actually go out and get customers. Then we do dev, right, with a building, and then we have go to market. And those are the gates that we actually put our companies through.
Nice.
I think that the hardest part is saying no to things, and because there's so many opportunities. And so, at the start, we're like, okay, defense, because defense was picking up traction a lot. So maybe we should focus on defense. And we're like, nah, like we looked at it and we're like, we don't really necessarily, that's not a place we can play, right? Like I don't have the connections. We don't have the connections there. We could build it. Like we can go out and try to get those connections, but we're like, our forte is that we have expertise in AI. And so that's where we're kind of going to stick to. Like we're exploring now, reg tech, because of regulations that come out. We see there's opportunities there. We're also exploring, fintech opportunities, not related to tax in any way. But we see, and when we're thinking about things, we don't think, like, although we build in Canada, the premise of what we build will be something that can go outside of Canada, right? So we take our time. Like I wish it's always like good things come to those who wait and do research.
So on that point, I feel I agree with that completely, of like taking your time, thinking, being
Yep.
slow mover, and then go after it
Yep.
and not make too many mistakes. But I also feel in the back of my mind is like, I gotta go fast. Like I gotta move and I gotta really push the envelope. And you go back to the cold calling agent. Okay.
Yeah.
If you take that as an example, if someone created a cold calling agent and you were one of the first companies to use it, you would have such a big competitive advantage, because you can get a lot more calls in before the market just gets swamped with everyone using these agents, and then it becomes a commodity.
Yeah.
So like there's this chicken and egg thing that I'm fighting with every day. Um, but I do think you have to still put your business mind on. You still got to think. You got to figure out what's in your gut. But there's also the speed thing that I fight with myself a lot with. I don't know if you feel the same way.
It's interesting. I I think I probably felt that way when I was younger.
Mhm.
Now, like, there's always going to be opportunities, right? So I'm not afraid. Like, oh, what if you miss that one? I'm like, yeah, I've missed a lot already, right? Like, there's going to be other opportunities. Um, I think that if you like product market fit also has a certain component of luck, right? But you
And
can
timing.
in timing,
Yeah.
right? But you can reduce some of that by getting things lined up properly, right? So I think, being smart and trying to reduce some of that risk. Now, being fast, I think that's just AI just enables the speed more,
Mm.
right? I'm not saying we're going slow. I'm just saying that like once we were taking our time on the upfront piece so that we have probably a better chance of product market fit. And once that decision gets through our gate, basically, we then go pretty much into the build, and that's done really, really quickly, and then the go to market, right? So
So are
so the
you
long part's actually the research part in making sure that we have customers, potential buyers in line before we actually really have a product, right? Like that's
so
kind of the approach we take.
so are people how are you getting these companies? Like
So, good question. Initially, there's different venture studio models, and some are like, hey, they bring in a founder, and they take that idea and they help them with the idea. Um, so far, our experience with that is that we don't take on external ideas. Like we have been approached and we get pitched, but genuinely we say like we haven't found one where we're like yes yet. Like we say no to almost everything, um, because there's a couple of components here. First off, if it's just an idea they bring to us, we have to take so much equity to make it worth our while that they no longer their idea, it's ours,
mm,
right? And we don't want to do that to them.
mm,
So we're honest. We say, well, at this point in time, you just have an idea,
mm,
right? Like it's a good idea. Please pursue it. But for us to get involved and help you with it, it's going to be like we're going to be the main shareholder, the main owner, and nobody. You have an idea. Very few people come in with an idea and say, okay, I just want to be a part of it.
mm.
Some people might, but so far from our experiences, no. Right? Most of our ideas, we have a committee that basically it's generated internally. So from the research that we do, and also through the expertise of the people involved. Right, we have a group of advisors that, depending upon where we're heading, we reach out to them. So. For example, I reached out to an advisor yesterday to have a little talk about the fintech industry and what he's seeing. His advice was, uh, don't work with the government on it because the government's too slow. Government organizations or regulatory bodies also not great. They want to be innovative, but they struggle with innovation. He said, Alberta seems to be the only province that really is supportive of fintech at this point in time, and it's interesting. Like once again, advice, right? So you take advice, you synthesize it, and then you kind of make decisions based upon that, right? But it's like so. The exciting part for me though is that building something of value. I encourage everybody to try entrepreneurship. I think even if you're a full-time job and you're like working someplace, I think you should have a side hustle. Like you know, I actually think you have to take control. And that's sorry. And then going back to Rogue Ventures, I think in any type of business, you do the best you can, and you help people the best you can, and you have to kind of ignore the noise, right? Like so back to what you're saying about speed, right? Like I actually think sometimes it's good to slow things down
Mhm.
and be like, okay, what are we doing and how can we do this better than anyone else? And if we can't, okay, but how can we make sure that our customers get what they deserve and what they need and do a really amazing job with the customer? Because that's what's important, right? And sometimes and that's how you build relationships. And even though we have all these amazing tools, business is about relationships. That's like the simplest form. It's relationships. People like it's you know, when you sell, usually like if you're selling anything, throughout my life, it's always been face to face,
Mm.
right? Like, so maybe that'll change. Maybe the cold caller would be so great that he can convince me to buy something on like on the phone that I don't pick up. I don't know, right?
Mhm.
Like, but I think it's going to the to sum it up, it's going to be interesting,
Mhm.
right? Like, because you know, I wish if anyone could predict the future, right? Like we all probably bought Apple stock 10 years, like 20 years ago, right? Like we don't, and that's the beauty of life. We don't know what's going to happen.
What got you to start this venture studio?
You know, it's funny because I met competitors. So when I started the AI consultancy business, we're like, I reached out to all my competitors that I could find in Ottawa to have a coffee, right? Just to see, like, hey, but there wasn't that many. Now there's probably like 50 times, right? But at the time, there was maybe I could find 7 people. And one of them was a guy named Julian White, and we hit it
He's been
off.
on the podcast.
I know he's a great guy. I think I introduced him.
Yeah.
And so we thought, and we had conversations. We got to know each other really well, and we're like, hey, I've always wanted to do this, and he's like, me too. And so that's just like many ideas, right? And we see the opportunity now because starting a company with an AI foundation, where
Yeah.
you know you're storing data, you're collecting data,
Dude.
you can build a better company,
Yeah.
right? A more valuable company.
And he does the same company as you.
So he works with Scarlet Nova. So he works with us. He's a CTO, but he's also an entrepreneur through and through, and does
Mhm.
many other things too, right? But we're partners in Rogue Ventures, and we're always looking for new partners because we also know that uh, nobody does anything solo. Like, yeah, I think, I like the idea that somebody's going to start a solo $1 billion business.
Right.
Ah,
Yeah.
like
That's
I'd say
different skill set.
that's a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Like and would you want to? I think some people may,
Mm.
but for me, part of business is working with really awesome people
Yeah, I agree.
that challenge you and have new ideas, right?
But I do think to get to a multi-million-dollar business,
Hmm.
you don't need 100 people anymore.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's probably tenfold,
yep.
you know.
I think you can. Well, it's like as we talked many times, it's steroids, right? AI is steroids. So you can have a team of 10 that does 100, or like the work of potentially 100, right? Like especially if they're good at their jobs,
Yeah.
right? So if you have somebody that's really good, and then you give them extra tools to be better.
And from your experience, you said it went from 10x development to 20x development. Has that been over the last month, 2 months, 3 months, or
I
like
think
what,
like that's like 6 to 8 months. Yeah,
6 to 8 months? You've
yeah,
seen
yeah.
another
Well,
10x productivity.
Well, they say now that, in terms of coding, these large language models or these tools basically are, initially it was like, okay, a junior level guy. Now it's moved on to being the
Intermediate.
expertise of a senior level person, right? So what you're going to have is coders that are able to do more. The senior level guys are going to be able to, 10, 20 times their output. Um, I think
Has your conversations
you
changed?
and I aren't coders and we can do stuff,
Yeah.
right?
You don't
So
need to be technical.
that's right.
Has your conversations changed with your graduates at your school in the
Good
last
question.
6 months?
Well, it hasn't changed because I've always been on the AI. You need to get on the AI train, especially for new going into, because the big problem is that the entry level jobs are the ones that are like the ones that can be usually AI can be used for, right? Like, so I say tell them that either you have to be really good with those tools so that you can go into these companies and say, I'm the AI person now,
Yeah.
and I can help you get to where, like, so you increased your value by your AI knowledge, right? Or you have to get enough experience in some way or form so that you can jump that entry level and provide value at a middle level versus the entry level, right? And part of that is by being really good with the tools, right? Like I can then like you can then go in and say, okay, well, these are the things I can do, right? Like I also think the knowledge, like I tell them knowledge is at everyone's fingertips, right? So knowledge isn't going to be a differentiator as much. It's skills. So can you communicate? Like, do you make good decisions, right? Critical thinking. Can you ask good questions? Can you be curious, right? Can you make things better, right?
But isn't it contradicting AI too? Like they've been
Yeah.
brought up with their phones
Yeah.
and have this wealth of knowledge at their experience,
Yeah.
their fingertips. And then we're also saying, hey, go out there and I mean,
Yeah.
it might be such a comfort zone for them too.
Hmm.
It's like going back to our example about prototyping and vibe coding versus going out there.
Yeah.
Takes a lot more energy and effort to go out there versus to, do a prompt. It's like
So
it's two extremes,
yeah,
right?
there's going to be challenges. Like
Yeah.
I think education is going to have some challenges. I think when it comes to with the like, if you think about it, if you're going to hire somebody, right? Like, and I see more and more when if you take a look at job applications and CVs, like if you have somebody marketing skill, all else being equal, and you have, one marketing student or looking for a job that has AI skills, has Claude on it, right? And has a project that they did with Claude versus just somebody
Yeah.
like with a marketing diploma. Who are you picking?
Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer, right? And I think that actually goes into also businesses. Like if you think about it now, like a business that does something versus they're all equal. Let's say it's I don't know, uh, a donut store. But a donut store that can be more efficient and uses AI properly, even a donut store, you could argue, all else being equal, will have some advantages because of better decision making and efficiencies, right? And if you think it, even take it the next step is that you have these two stores, donut stores, all else being equal. The donuts are about the same. You have a better business here, and when you think about, okay, I'm going to sell now, if I'm buying a donut store, who am I going to buy? I'm going to buy the AI infused
Absolutely.
one because the data is all nicely packaged, efficiencies and workflows are in place. Like there's another piece there where I'm like, if you're thinking of selling a business, I would 100% be thinking about where to implement AI so that you create more value in the business so that you can sell it for a higher multiple. I
Yeah.
think I think that's still a possibility. But anyways, that's another.
Are they what's the feeling like at graduation? Are they nervous about the job? I have two parts to this is like the education system.
Yeah.
How is that revamping from your experience? Like I'm contributing to the RESPs for my kids,
Yeah.
thinking that there's gonna be universities in 15 years.
Mhm.
But the flip side, I'm like, are there gonna be universities?
Well, I hope that's interesting because, ah, like, I think people, from my point of view, I like learning, right? And I think people generally, when I think about education right now, it's a ticket to play the game,
Yeah,
right? Like,
love that.
so, so is it a necessary ticket? In this society, it kind of is. Are there people that don't go to college and do things and are very successful? Yes, there is, right? But that's because of personality and character, right? Like, and anyone can. Like, if somebody was like, if they're like 15 and they're like, okay, as soon as I get out of high school, I'm gonna start a business. There's a good chance that if they try to start a business, they will learn by trying to start that business, and they'll fail. But if they keep learning through the process of starting businesses, eventually they might have some success, right? Um, so I think education will always be necessary, and needed, even if it's education on the tools, right? So I'm a believer in education. I think it will change. I think we're already changing assessments, right? Like an essay, forget about that. Right?
Yeah.
Like a funny story is like I teach a course called Emerging Tech for Business, and there's an essay about ethics and about ethical use of technology, right?
Right.
And I'm like, this is great, guys. You're using AI to write these things.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not sure if you're hitting the point or missing the point here,
Right.
right? Um,
Because like all the tech books, all the books, all the lecture books are already out to date. I would make assumptions.
Depending upon what you're studying, right? Like, but
Business,
in business, I think in business,
like what I learned through my MBA and I learned what I have at my
sure.
fingerprints now, it's a whole different game.
But accounting is accounting.
But accounting through a prompt
Fair,
in
fair. Yeah, how you do it
yeah,
is different, right?
right.
But the knowledge of like, I think even though, well, then this is where it gets dangerous, right? Because like, let's
And
say,
like, do you need to even know accounting as a business owner? Like when I started, okay, I needed to understand a balance sheet. Now I can put that into ChatGPT and it can
you still need to, because like because you, let's
fair
say
enough. Fair enough. I agree.
yeah, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
like, oh, what does this
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Right? Like,
But I guess if AI gets so good to
yeah,
the point where it really understands it, then
yeah, but AI still makes mistakes.
yeah,
So this is where I think this is where the big problem is that we are old enough to have experience,
right,
right? The younger generation is going to grow up and not have the same experience.
right.
We can look at something and be like,
Yeah, it
this
doesn't.
doesn't make sense,
Yes.
or this is out of like, this is
Yeah.
silly. We have that power, and that's why it's steroids to us, right?
Right.
And we can say, this is professional, so I can submit this. This isn't professional, not submitting it. So ultimately, we are the, with anything that you create with AI, there's always going to be a human that's going to do that final check to make sure that it's suitable and that it can be moved on, right?
Agreed.
The problem is that we need to teach that to the next generation to make sure that they are able to look at something and be like, that's good, that's not bad. Otherwise, it's going to be a world of AI slop, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing it where, some major, consulting companies are getting, hand slapped because I think it was in Australia, the story where a major consulting company, did a report, but it was generative AI. It was created by AI, and the guy that received it is like, hey, this is AI, this is
Mm.
slop, and so they ended up like having to pay back or something like that, or being fined for it or whatever. But like, so that the being able to be like an expert in quality is going to be really important, but they won't know that,
Mm.
right? Because they'll read it and they'll be like, oh, good enough,
Mm.
potentially. So I think there's, I think that's the challenge with education, because as you said, knowledge is at the fingertips. It's those skills, the critical thinking, to being able to look at something and be like, say, this makes sense or doesn't make sense, the ability to communicate it. I think sales skills or is also going to be a very valuable skill down the road. Um, you know, the emotional intelligence, always important, right? Like there's so many things, like the human things, right? I think the human things are going to be like more important.
Do you have any kids?
I have two,
How old are they?
10 and 19.
What do you teach? What are you telling them?
Great question. My 19-year-old, completely against AI. Um, and then sometimes I think it's because media portrays AI as they're going to take all your jobs. It's going to destroy their environment, right? Like, so the messaging is always negative because that's what the news cycle does. It's negative. Like, you don't hear, the news is picking, the 10 stories of the day. It's going to be the ones that get people most fired up, right? So I think that's part of the reason where there's, and I talked to my 19-year-old about, you know, you know, my AI usage has, like, in terms of electricity consumption and energy consumption, is less than your Xbox,
Right. Yeah.
right? Like, and
Right.
and so they don't like, it's perspective, right?
Right.
Like, so I thought, okay, so, but I'm not like, if somebody doesn't want to use a tool, that's okay. Like I'm also like, I also let for my kids, but I do worry. I say, like, in your career, you're probably going to have to use some of it. And at that point, like, that's what the world will tell them. Right. Like, um, I try to educate and I try to support with kids, right? Like,
Mm.
it's like, but also, yeah, I think my 19-year-old, it's good for them to develop their own perspective and question things.
Mm.
If anything, it helps me because I'm like, why does she think that way?
Mm.
Right. Um, Now my 10-year-old's all into it. Like, my 10-year-old's
So your 19-year-old, what if you're not in with AI, is it trades? Is that
so she, no, she, child youth worker. So she's actually a Algonquin child youth
okay?
worker, right?
Okay.
So I think what she's worried about is the negative impact of technology.
Okay.
So she's focused on like, you
Yeah.
know, everything from, how the manosphere influences males to, and that's part of the technology
Mm.
about, social media, right? And, AI is in her mind an extension of some of the negative aspects of those, I don't know, entertainment devices or
Mm.
technologies, right? My 10-year-old though is interesting because she's creative, and so she's creating things with AI. So like she'll create pictures, like she'll create videos using AI, right? Like it's really interesting because my 10-year-old's being very creative, and I love that, right? Like that's like one of the things I'm like, great, this is how you should be using it,
Mm.
because she's using it as a tool.
Mm.
Now that being said, my 19-year-old is autistic, right?
Mm.
And so there's a very much a black and white
Mm.
thinking with autism. But to her credit, she she is like a really good conversationalist, and it really helps me kind of look at the other side of it. We've had discussions where she one time she said to my wife, and she passed along, she goes, I think AI is making your father less intelligent.
Mhm.
Not in those words, right? And I just laughed, and my thing was, well, I'm glad that she thought I was actually intelligent, right? Like
Right.
I was never intelligent. I fooled her.
So if you were mentoring a 19-year-old now, what would you say to him or her?
So I mentor a ton of them at the college, right? I very much to what you're saying, learn a tool, right? Like you have these tools, they're available to you. Learn to use it really, really well for the use cases that you use it for.
And if someone came to you and said, I want to be a coder.
That's a tough one because like I'm a little biased there. I'd be if said they want to be a coder. How much do you
or
love coding?
or if you want to be a graphic designer or
Ah!
or
Yeah.
or an accountant or a bookkeeper
Oh, geez,
or
those like
an
I'd be like, that's a tough one. I'd be honestly, I'd say because I don't want to be able to like if somebody's like I love numbers and I want to be an accountant, I wouldn't be like telling them like
and forget about the psychology and the human
uh,
the
I think they're in trouble. Yeah, like I think all those professions. I think um, anything that's kind of done on the digital side of things is going to be you already see it like
yeah.
graphic designers. When's the last time you hired a graphic designer? Yeah, I haven't hired a graphic
Yeah.
designer in years,
Yeah.
right? Web design.
Yeah.
But yeah, like like we were talking about bookkeeping,
Yeah.
like you know a lot of those jobs are probably suffering now just because anyone with expertise in any of these large language models has the ability to create these things fairly easily.
So what would you recommend them do? Be a data scientist? Be an AI, like how many AI experts can you be? Like if you're a white collar worker,
Yeah,
what do you suggest to them?
such a good question. I wish I had I wish I had a better answer. Like I think what I th- what I see in terms of success and people that are successful, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like remove the job, right?
Wow.
Because like I know you need the job,
Yeah.
but with the people that I know I like working with, the people that I think are very successful, have figured out what they really enjoy doing, and they just go do it no matter what, right? Like and that could be an artist. If you're like, if painting's your jive and you like love painting, paint, right? Like I know that sounds maybe idealistic, but I do think that I, there's a couple things. I'd say start a business. Like that's one of the things. My go-to is always to start a business. I encourage everyone to do it. Because there's so much learning in actually doing, right? But where AI, if there's always going to be opportunities around disruption, right? We don't know what jobs are going to be created, right? Like prompt engineers, right? Do you remember how like
Mm.
it was like 2 years ago, there was like prompt engineers, everyone like English majors were being hired like crazy, right? And then that changed a little bit, right? So we don't know what jobs are actually going to be created. I do think that jobs will be created. What those will be, I don't know. like philosophy majors are apparently being hired a lot now for the ethical aspect of technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, uh, the one thing about humans is that we're really good at adapting. That's why we've lived so long, and I expect that to continue. But that's a tough. Like, those are good questions because, like, right now, if somebody said, if I want to go into coding, I'd have a like I couldn't honestly tell them go for it.
But I like your approach. It's find your passion, whatever that is. You'll be good at it, wherever that is.
Yeah, yeah,
um, but at the same time, it's like, okay, the practicality. If you want a house, you need to make a certain amount of money. If you want groceries, you need to make
yeah.
a certain amount of money. Like there's the actuality of that too, to be like, okay, am I going into, I just know bookkeeping, and it's going to be automated and everything. It- and even if you are a bookkeeper and
Mm,
you're making X amount of dollars, can you still live off that at this rate? Right. So like there's a lot of questions
mm,
that are tough for these young generations. And I think about my kids are still so young, and I'm already thinking about it for them and being like, the housing prices, this, and now the job displacement. Like, there's a lot of things that they're going against. Um, and we're at a huge advantage, I think, because
yeah,
we have the experience
yeah,
and the tool
yeah,
where we can merge them together and have that airplane. But going back to the CVs of someone that has Claude and doesn't have Claude versus someone that maybe didn't go to school and ran 3 businesses, has Claude, has all this stuff, who would you hire? I'd probably like the doer, the experience,
yeah, yep,
so like I think all the playbooks, and this is coming from someone, school, I'm a big component of school.
yep.
It teaches you how to learn,
Uh,
it builds relationships. Like there's a lot of intangible advantages of there, but it's
What I think you hit is when you said doer,
yeah,
right? Like, doers are the ones that get things done,
yeah,
right? Like, I think that is the thing or the skill, the motivation that is needed, right? Like, I rather, if you think about hiring, right? Like, usually anytime you bring somebody in, you're going to train them a little bit anyways. This is what you're going to be doing, and this is what we want you to do, right? Like, it's the attitude, it's the character, it's their ability to do things and do things, above and beyond what you probably expectations are, right? It's the doer, right? Like, I think, and I think that to me is the thing that stands out and that I want to put into my children is like, do something,
mhm,
right? Like, because that's how you learn. You learn by
yeah,
doing. Like, I think school is great, and I think everyone to a certain extent needs to get that ticket to play the game.
yeah,
But once you have the ticket, it's what you do,
yeah.
right? Like I don't think, if you think about it, working up in a company, right? Like, education, does that really matter more than the results of the output and outcome that you do? No, it's the output outcome, right? Like, it's what you actually deliver, right? And how you deliver it.
And I do
So
think that is going to be the mindset change in business too. Hey, I'm doing your accounting. I'm not charging by the hour.
mm,
I'm not charging maybe by subscription anymore.
mhm,
I'm charging by result.
outcome based, yeah.
Yeah. Like literally, if you're spending 50% of your time on my app, I shouldn't charge you until it's at 90%
Yeah.
where the outcome is getting the result, and that I
Yeah.
should charge you.
It's funny because, like, I would switch like all my businesses, like the two businesses, to outcome based in a second, but society's not there yet.
And it's not there.
It's not there yet.
People would think you're crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like, so because it's not the business model they're used to, right?
And it's funny because when I was running my last accounting company,
Yeah.
we started a cloud bookkeeper. We
Mhm.
were one of the first ones to title that.
Yeah.
So we went through this all analysis, built this beautiful application to hire cloud bookkeepers. And this was before the pandemic and all that.
Okay.
When we posted a bookkeeper, senior bookkeeper, very traditional, we got a lot of applicants. And a lot of them were cloud bookkeepers, like
Yeah.
progressive bookkeepers.
Mhm.
We changed the wording to cloud bookkeeper with a more modern tone to it. We got 0 applicants.
Wow.
They thought
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
a fake job,
Oh, okay.
right? Like know also where your market
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and going back to the outcome pricing, people would be like, what? Like, and then you have to educate the market, which you're spending more money on, which
yeah,
maybe you don't have to do. So it's like,
yeah.
I could talk to you for
I
hours.
know. It's
I
awesome.
love,
Thanks.
and thanks for coming back. Before we head off, is there anything else that you've seen in the last 3 months that would help a student, graduate, entrepreneur starting a business, or a small business owner?
Well, I think, we're talking about bubbles, and it's funny because like I think everyone in my bubble is doing AI, but the reality is not everyone is, right? And I would say I'm an advocate for AI literacy. I think people need to understand what AI can and cannot do, the dangers, how to use it responsibly. I think that is what I'd say is, educate yourself, learn about it, right? So that you can actually make a proper decision on how you're going to use it or if you're going to use it, right? I think I think that's the starting point, and I think there once again, many people are still at this level, and I'd love to see just like a 10% increase in
Mm.
knowledge around AI, because it'd make my life a lot easier. uh, um, because I do think that you know genuinely the knowledge level across the board, and when I say the majority of people still have a fairly low level of knowledge around this, and it's very similar to like financial knowledge, right? Where
Mm.
there's some people that have a lot of financial knowledge. We don't teach it well.
Yeah.
AI is at that point now where there seems to be some momentum in wanting to teach AI literacy, which is really just technology literacy. And so I really think that that's where I'd say lots of free courses out there, right? Like especially intro to whatever, intro to large language models, intro to responsible AI usage. Like those are the things that I'd say, like spend time doing, right? Like learn, like yeah. I That would be my advice. And then based upon that, make decisions and do things, right? Like the entrepreneurship thing, I always say start a business. Everyone should start a business. And I know that some people are like, well, that's not everyone. Everyone shouldn't. But I actually think even if you fail in starting a business, you will learn so much by doing that. Like you're like it's an experience that I think everybody should experience. You only live life once.
Yeah.
Why not create something? Like if you love, let's say, comics, sell comics. If you love shoes, buy shoes and sell shoes, right? Like there's you, you can make it fun. Like I think entrepreneurship, there's stress with entrepreneurship, but I think also life should be fun. It's short. So do the things that you're passionate about, build things, create and do. And as you mentioned, the doers, right? The doers are the ones that I find throughout my life, the people that do things seem to be, not the happiest because happiness is always up and down, but they seem to be okay.
Yeah.
So,
I
uh,
agree with you.
anyways, thanks for having me. Like I hopefully you have me back, in a couple more months
I would love to.
because
I
things will
mean,
change.
yeah, and I see you're posting on LinkedIn all the time, and I follow you, and I love what you're
Thanks.
doing, and I love the message you're spreading more than all the AI is. And this is the whole premise about this podcast is entrepreneurship, business, bringing light to the adversities plus the successes of business, because you go through them both. And I do think we're entering a time where the way out is business. Like, you know,
I
the
I
middle
agree.
class is getting so shrunk in, and the numbers do not make sense for the middle class, that you have to create your own destiny.
Hmm.
And the only way to do it is through entrepreneurship, unless there's another way. Maybe there's investing, but that's a whole different thing. But you have such control of it. And, with the higher tax, the higher affordability, the higher pricing, like that $100,000 salary doesn't make sense anymore to run a family. So you have to think bigger. And
Yeah.
I think that's where business comes in. And, there's a lot of failures, but there's a lot of success stories. And listening to this podcast and following you could help that adversity turn into success. So if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I'm only on one social media, social network. LinkedIn is the only place I am. So, Chris W. Dore, Dore. Come find me there. That would be one of the best ways. I use LinkedIn personally for personal brand building.
Mm,
I talk about the things I'm super excited about, which is AI, entrepreneurship, and business. So if you're interested in those topics,
you're the guy.
yeah, and it's funny because I people say, "What's the purpose of LinkedIn?" Business development, of course, is part of that, and personal branding. But I also I think when I leave this world at some point, it'll be kind of cool for my kids to look and say, "Look at what he did, like what he's done, or what he thought."
You're building a journal for yourself.
It's kind of like a legacy
Yeah.
piece, yeah. And it's funny because it is a journal, and so hopefully one day my kids will look at it and be like, "I didn't know Dad did that," or like, and 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 that's kind of what really makes me consistent with it.
Yeah, Alex Ramosi says that the biggest legacy piece is education and, online resources because they live
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. Like, isn't like, there's not going to be statues put up for either one of us,
Yeah.
right? But what we leave digitally has the potential to be, staying for years, like past us, right? Then we can talk about digital twins, but that's another time.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Anyways, thanks for having me.